Hello and welcome to Cultivate to Thrive podcast. I am your host, Michelle Gunn. I am a self actualization and mindset coach. I am grounded in faith. I am here to share with you things I think will help inspire you, help grow your faith, and help you develop to be the person that God created to be. You can find me on my website, michellegunn.com. That's Michelle Gunn, one L, two N's, michellegunn.com. You can find me on my personal pages, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find me on and TikTok, and you can find me on my professional pages, Cultivate and Thrive, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also find me on patheos.com, patheos.com. I have a column there called Graceful Awakening, and I would love to see you there. I am also now a contributing author to the book Divine Blueprint. Grab yourself a copy. There are 17 chapters from 17 different people who tell you how God has worked in their life. I'm sure you can find something to inspire you. During these episodes on Cultivate to Thrive podcast, sometimes it'll just be me and sometimes it'll be a special guest. But welcome, welcome, and thank you for joining. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So happy everybody's here. Please, as you arrive, do comment who you are, where you're from. I love to see it. If you're joining in the replay, use hashtag replay so that I know that you watch the replay. And welcome, you did. Happy Wednesday afternoon, she says, from Finland. And everyone, soon rain and thunderstorms here. So sad, but enjoying a moment of your summer vacation with you. Thank you so much for joining. I know you're very busy enjoying yourself and relaxing and having fun. You did, so thank you. In preparation for today's episode, Harmony at Home and Work, Faith-Inspired Strategies for Work-Life Balance. I was really pulled when deciding what to wear this morning to wear my Commit for Life t-shirt. If you're in the US, you would know that that is an organization that takes blood donations. It's a blood bank, and they go around with buses and that to get much needed blood to help people. But it's the Commit for Life that really attracted me, that name, as we're looking at harmony at home and work, because that's something we need to be committed to. Welcome, Ronald. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm having issues hitting buttons. Here we go. You just comments will just be 50 times on my screen. Hi, Ronald from Maryland. Welcome, welcome. And Judith says, this is an important topic and great nutrition for the work year ahead. Thank you so much. Yeah, so when I was drawn for this t-shirt, I do pay attention to messages I receive. So before I continue with where that led me, I was reading this great book, Divine Blueprint, and the foreword by Thomas M. Telesco. I just want to read to you the first chapter because I thought this was really relevant to kind of like what I experience on occasion, and especially this morning. As Christians, asking, waiting, and listening for God's voice is so critical, and unfortunately, not something that many of us are good at least not all the time. We must be attentive to the small ways that do not always stand out, like a resounding gong. Rather, we need to see the things that are more easily noticed. These small doses of clarity can impact our lives and businesses and the people we add value to and serve. God is active in so many ways, the big and the small, that we must be ready to receive and act accordingly when it comes. So do pay attention to the everyday messages. that I know I have ignored in the past, or maybe it's not what I wanted to hear, so I ignore it. Thank you, Ronald. Glad you enjoyed the book. Yes. So as I came up to prepare, like I usually grab the Bible, but knowing that this word commitment came to me this morning along with this topic, which I think again that they tie in really well, I'm like, okay, so let me grab my Catechism of the Catholic Church. And for those that aren't Catholic, this is a book that also talks about tradition in the church and teachings from tradition that relate to the Bible. So it's a good way to look things up and to get the basics of what we understand to be and that the Bible supports. So I wanted to look up about commitment. And what struck me is this little section about self mastery. Self mastery is a long and exacting work. One can never consider it acquired once and for all. It presupposes renewed effort at all stages of life. The effort required can be more intense in certain periods, such as when the personality is being formed during childhood and adolescence. Talk about bells ringing. For me, definitely, because I do believe, in fact, I wrote an article on my column, Graceful Awakening, how faith is a lifelong journey, right? We're always growing, we're always evolving and maturing, no matter our age. And I know several people in my network and people that I know personally are on that journey, and they are doing it proactively and intentionally. So I do encourage you to seek that out. So Ronald says, I'm writing my chapter now every day. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I have a book on the back burner too that I need to start again, but I think I'm getting messages for that as well. And they're starting to be a little bit more clear. So we do need to listen to what God has to say, and we do need to be committed. And commitment means being intentional in your choices and in your actions. So I'm really thrilled today to discuss a topic that really resonates deeply with many of us, right? It's achieving that harmonious work life balance. And I think I've talked before, and I know I've talked with Ronald about this, that balance that we heard for so long, that word balance, it's really not possible to have balance per se. And I think a lot of people get burned out, discouraged, or maybe worse because they can't find that balance. And I think what we really strive to have is harmony, right? Because in every area of life, some things need to give a little as you give more in other areas. I mean, that's just how things work. You can't give 100% to everything all the time because 100%, 100%, 100% is more than 100%. So that is not possible. So I think we need to really have realistic idea and realistic expectations for ourselves and for those around us. Thank you, Judith. Yes. It'll probably be a while because, yeah. Anyway, so as professional moms or professionals or just a working person, or even those of us who are retired and are serving, being servant leaders and serving, we often juggle multiple responsibilities and it can sometimes feel very overwhelming. But with the right strategies and a little bit of faith, we can find the balance that brings peace and fulfillment to both our work and family lives. And one of those that I'll talk about is definitely time management, which I think Thane Isaacs commented on one of my posts. You know, he's managing his tasks rather than his time. And that's another great way to look at it when we do prioritization that falls in line. So know that work life balance isn't just a buzzword. Actually, like I said, we prefer not to even use that. We prefer to use harmony, but it's really essential for our well being and for success. Because if we're giving more and more in one area, we're going to have the guilt, we're going to have the shame, the embarrassment that something else is being left behind. And you cannot focus on being successful when you're dealing with those other feelings. Even if you're stuffing them down, eventually they're going to explode like a volcano. So it really means having a healthy equilibrium where we can fulfill both our professional duties while being present for our families and ourselves. And remember, part of that harmony or balance does include yourself. Oftentimes we leave ourselves out of the equation because we're so busy serving others or giving. Sometimes it's more giving than serving. We can talk about that at another time. But we really need to be mindful of ourselves as well. So the challenges are real. They're still out there. The long work hours. Sometimes it may not be long work hours. It may be crazy schedules or crazy, along with the schedules, is the shifts because many people look at schedules differently. There's the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 jobs. I don't know how realistic those are anymore. They might be more 8 to 5, 7 to 4. And then you have your people who have to work weekends. Our service people, we often forget about our service people. When people talk about, oh, do you want to leave your 9 to 5? That's such an antiquated term. People are working all hours. People work nights, they work weekends, they work holidays. They are missing out on family events. They're missing out on their kids growing. They're missing out on socialization and being with people, which helps our well being and our mental stability and health. All of these things affect it greatly. And when we are so worried, and especially nowadays with costs are rising, they seem to just be rising and rising. And I think, for my opinion, I don't have statistics or facts to back it up, but from what I've seen, experienced, and heard from others, is that salaries are not increasing for your average person. Cost of living is going up greatly, but their income is not. So there's also that greater struggle, which puts more emphasis on the work and not necessarily doing a good job, but getting the work to get that paycheck. Also, I think a lot of people feel it's not enough, right? It's not enough. They're just go, 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 go. It's not enough. They don't have time for rest, to take care of themselves. And when they do have time for family or um, passions, hobbies, they're not really enjoying them because their mind is somewhere else. So you need to look at and recognize the signs of imbalance, such as the constant stress and fatigue. That's the first step towards making progress and positive changes. So let's talk about some time management techniques. All right. So prioritizing tasks. So the Eisenhower, oh, I didn't bring it with me. There's the Eisenhower matrix, or the ABC method. So you want to look at, I hadn't technically heard of that name, so I did look it up and I've seen it before, right? So the Eisenhower matrix basically has 4 categories to put your tasks in. And I recently shared that with a manager that I know so that she can be a little bit more productive. And when the owner comes in and takes up her time, they can do it in a productive manner. Their meetings can be more productive. What can you delegate? What needs to be done urgently? And then there's a couple, other options. So really looking at the tasks and prioritizing what needs to be done will help you. And absolutely knowing what can be delegated, because you do not have to do everything. You should have people working with you, for you, on your team that also have skills that you can trust them with. If not, you need to look at who you're surrounded by. You can use scheduling and planning tools, right? So there's lots of scheduling apps and programs, right? Your calendar. Heck, on our cell phones, we all have calendars, so we can keep track of stuff. You can integrate a personal calendar with a professional calendar. When my kids were young and started getting into sports, that's when we started using a family calendar. That specific calendar I don't use anymore because this was a long time ago, and there's stuff that's way better now. But at the time, it was very good. We still use calendaring. In fact, my kids who don't live with me, I do share my calendar with them so they know when I'm not available and I can still be there for them when they need me. So, those are great options to help you face some of those challenges. And also, again, the delegating and outsourcing. You don't have to do everything. In fact, most likely you don't have time to do everything. So when you look at tasks and you're looking at something to delegate, think about what your strengths are, what you're good at, and think about your team, the people you work with, what they're good at, what their strengths are, and delegate accordingly. Everyone will get the best results if people are doing what they're good at. Now, there might be some things that everybody can do and nobody wants to do. Somebody just needs to step up and do it and make sure that there is accountability in place. Also, great communication for when you're delegating, it needs to be communicated exactly what the expectations are, what needs to be done, if there is a deadline, what the output will look like, things like that. And Unit is right. We should have authority and responsibility on our own work. And Unit, from our conversations and from posts that both you and I have done, there are those micromanagers out there that, well, there's several reasons they're micromanagers. We won't get into that today, but they are hovers over your work and are right there to hold your hand but not do it for you. So you really they're wasting time. They're wasting their time, they're wasting your time. Boundaries. We hear about boundaries in every aspect of our life. They're very important for maintaining balance or harmony, right? You need to clearly define when you're working and when you're not. Especially in this day and age, right? We have our cell phones, we're available 24/7. There are employers that say if you're on salary, you're mine, I own you. Well, that's not quite true. And it does vary depending on job responsibilities. Hopefully, that adds some flexibility to your schedule and that your boss understands that they put you in this position because they trust you and they trust your work. So, do still set boundaries of when you're working and when you're not. Your off days need to be your off days. Sure, there's emergencies in some cases. Then you're available there, but you're not available for ridiculous things that can be handled when you return. Make sure these boundaries are communicated to your employer, your family, your coworkers so that everyone's on the same page. Yes, family too. I've gotten the calls at work. Mom, what's for dinner? Guess what? You don't have to call mom when she's at work to find out what's for dinner. If you're not making it, you'll find out when it's on the table, right? um, this is just one silly example, but it's a true example. So you do need to set boundaries with your employer, your coworkers, and your family. And most importantly, start with boundaries for yourself. What are you going to commit yourself to, and where are you going to draw the line? It's very important to learn to say no. There are a lot of people, I had this problem for a long time. It's easier for me now. And then, depending on who's asking and what it is, it might be a little bit more difficult to say no. But you need to start boundaries with yourself, right? and then you're going to communicate them out. And then you have to hold yourself accountable to that. And if you need accountability partner, then get one. That's someone that you can communicate with, that you trust, that can keep you honest and accountable to what you're doing. They can kindly tell you, hey, this is what I seen you do, but this is what you told me you were going to do. How can you move forward better, right? Accountability partner. Very important, and will help you keep your boundaries set as well. Prioritizing responsibilities, right? You need to identify your core values and priorities. You need to align your daily activities with long term goals and have flexible planning for unexpected events, because unexpected always happens. Doesn't Never fails. You can be totally planned and something's going to happen to throw a wrench in it. So you need to be able to be flexible. Knowing your core values will help you implement a vision for yourself and a mission, which you should have, that will help you align your life and everyday work to help you live your purpose for your long term goals. But do be flexible when unexpected events arise. The alignment ensures that you spend your time on what truly matters to you. Now, if you're in a job, and sometimes we have to take a job because of the money, and hopefully, if you're in that position, you'll be able to work out of that with some guidance towards living your purpose, because then you get the paycheck and an awesome feeling, and you're impacting the world in a very positive way. Thank you, Judith. Yep. Do not yourself agree, becoming irreplaceable. Right, because you are not. If you are the backbone of your organization, it has to be shown on your salary, not just expectations to hold it all together and going. Now, I've encountered a lot of employers, and some of them are small business owners, some of them are larger business owners. I've worked for them. My husband's worked for them. I think my kids have probably worked for them. These employers that everyone is irreplaceable. In fact, one retail establishment I worked for, um, I was the manager in a large department, the receiving area there, and the store manager told me everyone there is replaceable, even you. Well, you know what? She's right. You can always get another body in there to do the work. The work will not be the same. The productivity will not be the same at all. And guess what? When you have constant turnover, that's more money spent that you could have just spent on investing in your employee and having a better outcome, versus constantly retraining people and you're not making progress. You're staying or falling behind. So absolutely. And right, we should absolutely value the people who add value to our company unit. Very good point. And I want to talk a little bit about the faith-based solutions, right? Because that's part of my topic here today, is what kind of faith-based solutions do we have on having home and work harmony, right? So you want to incorporate faith into daily routines. You're going to find strength and guidance through prayer and meditation, and building a strong faith community. So when you're doing this, you want to make time for prayer and meditation to find peace and direction. Now, I'm going to give some kudos out to my friend Vic Cliseri. He does, along with Allison Sinclair, they are on the Solivity Talk Show the first Monday of every month, and they have great stuff to say. I highly recommend watching it either live or on the replay. And the last episode, he talked about an app, the Calm app. And I think it's more robust in the paid version. I'm currently using the free version, but I really like the fact that it gives me two little, I don't want to say reminders, not really motivation, more like inspiration a day, or I think sometimes one is like a suggestion or a question to get your thoughts going. So that's another thing that you can do because it's not very time consuming and it happens right smack in the middle of the day. Another great thing is to take your deep breaths, right? In and out. And you do that at least 3 times. If you can do it for a minute, that's great. And get yourself recentered on where you're at. And during that time, you know, do gratitude. Thank you, God, for this job. Thank you, God, for this opportunity. I am grateful for I still have a roof over my head. I have power. There's so many people still in this state that don't have electricity. I am grateful we have electricity. So take those times during the day to do that, and it'll help you find the peace and direction, especially if you're going through a difficult situation or dealing with a difficult person. Take a break. Take a short break. Even if it's while you're in front of that person, say, "Hold on, can you please give me a minute?" And just do some deep breaths and invite them to do that with you, right? Engage in your faith community for support and encouragement. I know a lot of people who are looking for work are very stressed out. Um, they're very upset. They have lots of emotions around the experience because just even looking for a job is full time and you don't get paid for it. You can lean on your faith community. They have resources and definitely support. There's working mom groups. There's all kinds of groups where you can plug in, grow your faith, or get the faith support that you need. All of these things will not only enrich your spiritual life, but also offer practical solutions for your daily challenges. Yeah. Okay. By this I mean that uh, do not take on crazy amount of job you must do or sky will fall. Right. You have to know what you're capable of. And just because you're totally capable of something doesn't mean you should do it. Right. You have to look at, there are only 24 hours in a day. That will never change. The amount of time you have will not change. How are you going to prioritize it to get the most out of life? Right. Remember, I said you need to take care of yourself. You need to have boundaries for yourself. Well, emotional well being and self care are extremely important to having harmony in your life. Self care is not a luxury, it's a necessity, right? Regularly engage in activities that rejuvenate you, whether it's exercising, reading, or simply taking a moment of solitude, time to yourself. Faith inspired practices like mindfulness and gratitude journaling can enhance your emotional well being and provide a sense of calm and perspective. Doesn't matter how much you work if you break yourself doing it. Think about it. If you spend all your time working to get the paycheck and buying lots of things, and then you're too sick, too worn out to enjoy it, what good is that? Really, really, really need to prioritize these things. Really need to know where your talents lie. You need to know what the needs of your family are, what your needs are, and what your employers are, and find that balance or harmony where it can all work together or work towards. You may be in a position where you cannot incorporate everything right away, or you may be in a position that your employer will not change the way they do business, will not change the way they treat you. So you need to think about, is that where you should be long term? Now, I never ever recommend anybody quitting a job before they have a job. So if you're in a job where you are feeling unfulfilled, you do not feel appreciated, you're spending way too much time doing meaningless tasks, and you're missing out on life for yourself, life for your family, you really need to think about if you're where you're supposed to be. Yeah, yeah, guilt. Yeah, a lot of people use guilt to try to get from you what they want, right? We're pushed over Are healthy boundaries by these kinds of tactics? Absolutely. I know my mom was really good at that, right? A lot of moms are good at um, putting guilt on you, and I think that's probably where some of us learn it from a younger age. We grow up with that, and we know if somebody makes us feel guilty, we need to give in. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. If somebody is using a guilt tactic on you, they either don't have a good enough reason for you to do what they're asking, or I I don't know. To me, that's like it. Or they're lacking something. That would be the other thing I would think about. They're lacking something, so it really depends on what the situation is. But either they don't have a good reason to make you do or to have you do what they're asking, or they have their own issue. So don't let people guilt you into things at all. That should never be a reason to take action. So I do want to wrap this up by talking about balancing work and family is achievable, that harmony. Don't think of balance like a scale where it's going to be equal. Your life balance will look different maybe every day, maybe several times a day, but you need the right strategies in place and support. Don't miss out on the support. You may be able to do it all. You really can't. You really can't. But you do need support. You do need to take care of yourself by managing your time or tasks, right? Setting boundaries, prioritizing our responsibilities, and incorporating some of these faith based solutions. You can create a more harmonious life that nurtures both your professional and your personal growth. Remember, it's a journey and that every step counts, and it is a journey for life. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming today. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop them. And apparently, I don't get them all in the live, but I do go back and respond to everyone. And if you have anything else that you don't want to share publicly, please DM me and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your week.